One of the things you talk about in the book is overcoming imposter syndrome. And I love that topic so much because I think that people are, and I've only picked my favorite days and things that I think were really powerful from the book. Overcoming imposter syndrome is such a big thing today because more people have access to more opportunities. More people are seeing more things happening in the world and knowing what's going on in the world. I know that in my own life, I've experienced imposter syndrome multiple times because I'm constantly in rooms that I never thought I'd be in. I'm constantly surrounded by people that I feel inadequate to in some way or weak to in some way over time, or rooms that I didn't imagine being or didn't expect to be in. And so imposter syndrome is something I experience time and time and time again. I have my own way of dealing with it. I'd love to know, where have both of you felt imposter syndrome in your life? And let's start there. Where have you felt it first? Let's start there.
This is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Because like Raquelle said, when I was early on in my career, it wasn't like a beautiful welcoming for me. It was very much, my personality is too much. People can only handle me in small doses. I'm a cartoon character. And in this career, it's all your personality. So like, that was very damaging at a young age when I was starting out. So in my mind, I was like 21, 22.
Okay, yeah.
So you hear all that and you believe it because it's coming from people who are way above you in this corporate world, and this is something that I am so grateful. I work with Ryan Seacrest, and he, from the very beginning, has been so encouraging to me, and he saw something in me, and I would not be where I am if it wasn't for him believing in me, because I did have to deal with a lot of adversity from other people. It was very damaging. And it was like every step of the way in my career. Like I remember when I got my first TV gig at E, I had it all over again. I was like, I'm too much and I need to, lower myself and be a little bit quieter. And every step and every milestone that I was making in my career, I felt really nervous at the start because I was just like, I'm not supposed to be here. I don't deserve this. And there's also a part of it too, where it comes from, I never dreamed that this was possible. Like I always envisioned it, but I never thought that it was actually going to be a reality. And so when it's actually becoming a reality, it's just this crazy kind of like, I don't deserve this type of thing. And so overcoming it has been a process, like a major, major process, because I've had to kind of unwind and like unhear all of these things. And it's so funny because it's like the people who see potential in you and believe in you, that number was far more than the ones that didn't believe and that try to put me down. But yet those ones are like the loudest voices, and they're the hardest. That you can't get them out of your head. I think it took me a decade to like get them out of my head.
Yeah, that's
really done the work.
Yeah.
That's so true. I mean, the noise of other people's opinions is always louder than all these voices of support and encouragement. And Raquelle, how about you?
Yeah. So for me, I think having and continuing to remind myself of how big God is, and whoever is listening, you call it God, the universe, a higher power. I think when we have a revelation of just how big that is, it's extremely humbling. And so for me, maybe similar to you, I found myself in a lot of rooms with people where I'm like, wow, how did I end up here? And a prayer that I've always prayed is, God, I don't want to love anything or anyone more than I love you. And so I think when you go into a room, you understand that I'm worthy to be here because I am a human being, and we are all worthy. And when you understand the bigness of God, the higher power of the universe, you understand that we all play a small part in this journey of being human. And I think that's really allowed me to overcome imposter syndrome, because I do feel worthy. I feel worthy to be in the room with people who maybe I admire, maybe have achieved more than me, but like, what an honor. I get to learn from them, and I'm worthy to be there because I am human.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. I love that. That really hit me. I love that. And and I think for me also, from a practical sense, I've started to embrace imposter syndrome as a sign that I'm growing.
Yeah.
And so I find that I've started to look at imposter syndrome as every time I feel it, it means I'm doing something that's uncomfortable.
Challenging.
It's true,
Yeah.
Jake. And I will
Challenging,
say,
yeah.
I make it a point to surround myself with better.
Same,
I
yeah,
surround
yeah.
myself with people who are further along than me, who challenge me, who help me to grow. And I have always been that way because I want to be better.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever arrive. I wrote about it in the book, but I said, Maya Angelou, she did an interview with Oprah in her later years, and she said, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I don't know when I know enough. I've learned, a lot where I try to live what I know, but I still am not there. And she was considered to be one of the wisest people in the world. It still is. And so I try to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tanya, what was yours because Raquelle looked at you and she was like, you did the work. Like, what were those 10, and you said it took 10 years, which I feel is a genuine, real amount of time. I think a lot of the time today we're like, oh, you can get over imposter syndrome like tomorrow. And it's like, no, it takes years to craft your relationship with how you feel about feeling like an imposter.
And I do have to say, I feel like it adds a little bit of fuel to the fire. You know what I mean? Like, I think it made me, I would go into a carpet and the amount of prep I did before a carpet was wild. Like, I was doing research. I would watch every single movie, every single TV show, like do the whole background. I really would prepare because I had that imposter syndrome. Like, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. So it made me overachieve, which I think ultimately was a good thing and a blessing. And so I think in a way I tried to kind of turn the narrative of imposter syndrome, and I tried to realize like, oh, this is helping me. It's like fueling me a little bit. So I feel like once I started to change the narrative and, I started to grow, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I just had to like quiet that voice.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. And I want you to know that I've always appreciated your energy and being around it. So
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. It's always been massively
Thank you.
infectious
Thank
and
you.
just wonderful. And like, I remember years ago, that's when I remember connecting with you first, was when like, I think you told Ryan about Think Like a Monk on one of your episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was getting hit up with loads of messages about it saying,
that
no,
they heard it?
Yeah. And then I think that was like how we first like at least connected on Instagram. And to me, it was just, I remember watching that clip back, and it was just like, you were so, like, Ryan had no idea what it was.
Right.
And you were just so positive about what I was doing.
I'm very passionate.
Yeah, very passionate.
Very
yeah.
passionate.
I'm also
yeah.
I think we take ourselves
It's so
so
good.
seriously. I think that it's okay to be silly and to be animated and to like, I find there's so much vulnerability in those moments of life, and yet nobody wants to talk about these embarrassing things. Or, like I used to do when I was dating, I would like set the dinner table for myself and my future partner. Like he wasn't there, but I would clean out my closet so there was space for him to come. Like I did all those weird
Tanya
things.
really has manifested her entire life.
I love it.
But I'm like, I don't take myself too seriously, I'm like, if somebody says something works for them, I'll try it, try it. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work. Share the embarrassing moments because we all have them.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I don't think I've ever talked about this. When I came back from being a monk and I couldn't get a job anywhere, I used to dress up as if I was going to work, and I'd go to my local library and sit there and read books and apply to jobs. But it was like me going to work, like that feeling of like, I've got to show up as if I already do. And then I'm able to attract, I'm able to behave better, I'm able to be more professional. And so I love that example though. Everyone's going to be doing that now. That's going to be the new trend. I'm going to see loads of videos of everyone setting up the
setting up of the table was like a little bit maybe too far, but I
love it.
I do
Yeah.
encourage the
Maybe I'm
creating
gonna try that,
space. Like
Tanya.
create, give yourself a drawer that's just empty in your room and give a big chunk of your closet that's just empty. And I was like, this is me creating space. Like, how am I supposed to bring a man into my life that I desire so much if there's no space for him in here? Like, actually, no space. There was not an inch of space in this room for somebody to come in. So I left an entire drawer, like a big drawer.
So cool. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
And now who takes up more space?
I still take up more space, but there's a lot of space for Robbie and all of his
He
things.
has one drawer.
He has one drawer.
I'm the opposite. I have a way bigger wardrobe than Radhi.
Oh, really?
It's so bad. Yeah, it's so bad.
I love it.
Yeah, Radhi is so understanding. so supportive.
Yeah.
I love it.